In this video, I'll be going over my exact color grading process, the full formula that I use for every one of my videos to create these colorful scenes and vibrant worlds. Although coloring completely depends on what you are shooting and what look you are trying to achieve, over the years of video making, I've developed a 5-step formula that I can adapt to any situation. I recently went and filmed a very traditional Indian bridal and engagement ceremony with my friend Jim. So the footage that we are going to work with today are just a few selects from that shoot. So let's get into my process for color grading footage. Before we start, just as a disclaimer, I do use Dehancer for all of my color grading, but I'm not sponsored by them and this is purely just my recommendation. So the first step out of 5 is choosing your input. Whether you are shooting in S-Log, C-Log, I think there's also A-Log now because Apple released something, whatever color profile you are using, even just Rec 709, Dehancer has a built-in conversion, so all you need to do is select which color profile you are using and it will automatically convert your footage into normal looking colors. And although you can just convert the footage before you use Dehancer, I like having everything in one spot, so this is super convenient and super clean for me. And just these little things make my experience in the software just so much better. And although you can make some basic adjustments in the input tab, I usually just tend to leave those alone. I tend to do most of my adjustments in step 3 and 4, but before that, we need to get to step 2. And that is choosing what film stock you want to emulate. So for those of you who don't know, Dehancer is not technically a color grading plugin. Although yes, it does put colors into your footage, Dehancer actually is a film emulation software. So in the process of putting colors into your footage, it actually is trying to mimic an existing film stock. So stuff like Fujicolor, Fujifilm, Kodak, Dehancer has a big list of films to choose from. My personal favorites are Kodak Gold, Portra 400 and 800, and the Cinestill 50D and 800T. And it's nothing against the other film stocks, it's just my friends that actually shoot film tend to lean towards these, so when I shoot with them, then my footage can match up with their colors as well. And once we've chosen our input and our film stock, then we've laid the foundation for the rest of what we are going to develop. So we can move on to expanding the footage. Expanding your footage is just setting your black and white points. This makes sure that your footage is basically properly exposed and is filling out your Lumetri Scopes tab. If you don't do this, your footage is just going to look like it has too little contrast or is just not balanced at all. Once we expand the footage correctly, we can move on to developing. This is where we can add some more contrast, brightness, and saturation to the footage to make it really come to life. Most of the time, your footage will just not have that much saturation out the gate, so using that color boost slider will really make the footage come alive and give you those vibrant, saturated colors that you are looking for. And the last step of my main color grading process is the color head tab. This is where you can shift the hues of the footage to make it more blue, more green, more magenta, etc. You are also able to shift the hues of the shadows, midtones, and highlights all separately. This is the tab where you can really just play around with the colors and make sure that your footage looks unique. I also use this tab to correct anything in case my footage looks too blue, too warm, or anything like that. Once I'm done with the color head tab, I'm pretty much done with the color grading process, or at least the main part of it. Because Dehancer is a film emulation software, we do have some effects that we are able to put on after we color grade everything. So stuff like film grain, halation, and bloom are all available to us because of this plugin. And although I don't like to use grain, bloom and halation are something that I do often put on my footage. Halation is sort of a visual effect that appears in film. It gives kind of reddish orange halos around the highlights. It is a very minimal change, but it gives my footage a stylistic edge. I also like to add a little bit of bloom to my footage, and again, just like halation, this only affects the highlights of the clip, and it gives it just a little bit of glow, making my footage look a little bit more dreamy. Again, not too big of a difference, but definitely a stylistic choice if you are trying to go for something like that. I used to film everything with a Pro Mist or black diffusion filter, but after learning that the Dehancer plugin actually just has bloom built in, I just removed shooting with that entirely, and now I have the option of whether I want bloom or don't want bloom in my post-production. And it gives me just a little bit more freedom when I'm editing through all these clips. The other great thing about Dehancer is that you can export LUTs after you've created a look that you really like. And from there, you can just apply that look to any of your footage going forward. And you never have to worry about grading every single one of your clips every single time. So this can save you a lot of time in the future, especially when you're shooting very similar looking videos. So yeah, that's it. That's everything that I use to color grade all of my footage. If you have any questions about my color grading process or the Dehancer plugin, you can drop them down below in the comments. And no, this doesn't just work in Premiere, it works in DaVinci, it works in Adobe, and it works in Final Cut. And crazy enough, they also have a Dehancer online option. So if you're working in a software like CapCut and you want to color grade your footage after, Dehancer has the website version that you can use. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions about anything, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.